All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from the sweltering hot Pacific Northwest. It is 8:30 in the morning my time, and it's probably almost in the 80s. Maybe it's 75, but it feels like 80s already. I feel like I live in Hotlanta right now. I've only been to Hotlanta once. That was enough to know that the West Coast is different, but not this week. All right, so I'm just tired of it. I'll be glad when the rain comes. That's what I moved here for. All right. Um, let's try to think. So again, if you're new to this weekly tradition we always go through Bitcoin, Ether, GBTC, Ether, Bitcoin, the pair, and then I like to wax tactical, talk about this market, the way I'm approaching it in terms of my thinking. I think people probably hang out more for that than anything, I imagine. And then we'll get requests. I've got a pretty good block of requests today. I think this market's getting a little more interesting after a while, so people start to speak up. But I will start with the weekly altcoin and equity charts first, just to remind you guys you don't have to request those, but you guys do anyway, but they'll be covered. You guys always add them. I'm trying to look over this. I think there's nothing to say. I think in housekeeping, I really don't have much to say. I think just for again, bear with me for 1 minute as I speak, particularly to the Elliott Wave folks. I just want to ask again that those that are making requests in our nice request system in Elliott Wave Trader, please read the past charts. It's a little harder for SA folks because the search system is not well, but we've designed the request system to force Elliott Wave traders to look at old charts. And I think that people have left that behind because I have seen rapid responses or rapid requests for things that I've said are bearish. I don't know if that's just hopium working and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe this next time is different. But generally, I give you a level where I can change my opinion or at least start to. That level in a very bearish chart, like some of the ones that are coming up, doesn't necessarily turn it bullish, just says, okay, well, maybe I need to give it a second look and see if I see anything. That's it. We have a lot of altcoins that have really turned to doo-doo, excuse the expression, just dog doo-doo in this latter stage of this bull market. And really, to be honest, you probably should trade something else. Some of you folks that keep going back to the garbage. I mean, to be frank, I'm just calling it like it is. But I at least request, please, that you go back to old charts. And honestly, I could tell that we're getting back into the busy stage where people are excited about the bull market again, which, again, the sentiment has changed this week, I can tell. I'm going to get more busier, and I'm going to be tougher on those requests. I'm going to probably just click them off and then write general notes and say, hey, I've covered all these ones. If your request has been clicked off, I get buried, guys, and so I'm just gonna say nope, that hasn't changed. And sometimes I won't even write a post. I'll just click it off. Yeah, I have to be frank. I mean, even with Jason coming on board, we didn't add Jason to at Elliott Wave Trader to cover crappy requests. We added him to add more value to the market, and I want to make sure he's doing that, and not covering just more requests that really don't need to be asked. So I'm sorry to be tough on that, but I do wish that we were listened to in terms of watching out for the charts that are junk. And honestly, I can't give you any more analysis on something that's really terrible. I could just talk about what maybe might turn it okay, but honestly, a lot of these charts have permanent damage done for this cycle, and I still find people go back to them. Okay, sorry, I'm waxing a little bit long on that, but that's one thing I really want to add in housekeeping for the Elliott Wave Trader folks, because it was not a really great week in terms of that type of consideration. That's the best way I can put it. All right, Bitcoin. I know there's a question from Elliott Wave Trader person about 24K. I think it's really good now if there has been confusion about 24K. I think there has been in the last few weeks because I think people are looking at this move here and thinking this bull market is ready to rev right back up, and that may be possible for sure. I want to take back. I want to again go back to something I always say about Elliott Wave. There are a lot of folks that, let's take an example. I often get asked almost every webinar, maybe once or twice a week, what's your probability for this or that happen? Well, again, I don't have a magic machine that says, okay, this count has this probability, this count. It's just probably. Now I can see actually 20 variations in this count, and I've given you the two most probable. So that's one thing just to keep in mind, that because red count, blue count, and blue count is part of black count. If if I'm just emphasizing that it's something we have to watch, not rely on by the color. They are on this chart because they are reasonably probable. That means that this market dropping past 24K is reasonably probable. It doesn't mean that I'm stuck on that, especially when it's red. Doesn't mean I'm stuck on that happening. And again, when you go back to the charts, Ellie, of Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's really Ethereum and quite a few alts that scream for this market to go lower, and Bitcoin is less so. Okay, so that's a really important point that I have said, and I'm going to emphasize again. Ethereum screams for lower. I said that a couple webinars back. Jason and I both agree on that. And a lot of altcoins, well, one, a lot of altcoins have broken down utterly, meaning they're just complete garbage and probably not going to break out, and most probably. And then we have Bitcoin that is less so in those categories. So that differentiation is super important. Okay, you have to, like, who's lying is the question. Is Bitcoin lying? Or are they going separate ways? Meaning Ethereum is simply going to be weak, and maybe it doesn't go at the full downside that I expect, but it's going to continue to be weak, and then Bitcoin's going to take off. And I have a triangle showing up in the Ether Bitcoin pair, so it's possible. And then with some of the alts that are garbage now, turned to junk, utterly. Like, I don't have anything bullish to say. Then there's a lot of them now. It could be that they just rally strongly, and they never break out over the June highs. That's a possible scenario. So I can't give you scenarios in every single chart. And for me personally, to stay productive, anything that looks like garbage, I just don't spend time on it. I really it's senseless for me to get a real intimate view. I mean, again, I'm going to emphasize that getting a real intimate view on any one chart takes a lot of work. And I cover hundreds. So Jason and I both cover hundreds. Jason has other duties across Elliott Wave Trader and Seeking Alpha. Guys spread pretty thin. So I'm going to remind you guys that, I am not going to spend time on a chart that looks like junk. I just really don't. It's just not a good use of my time. And I put out the weekly charts so that you guys can at least see what I am. And I'm looking at more closely, but to be honest, they're not looking that great right now either, except for the miners. Like, the equities are looking great, the altcoins are not looking great. I think we're in the latter stage of this bull market. That should be evident from this chart. We have a couple more ways to go for the major bear market hits, unless something surprises. That means the altcoins are going to start going weak. Okay, they continued past Bitcoin's highs in January 2018. But that's before the great monetary destruction of altcoins in 2018. So we have a very different market that's been very much changed by the 2018 bear market, as it wreaked multi-week damage on many altcoins for which most will not recover. Okay, and so some of the newer charts have done well this year. Those guys will probably mostly die in the next bear market, and then we'll have another crop of hot projects to watch in the bull market of whatever 2023, 24. Because I assume from the early 2022 to maybe early 2023 to mid 23, maybe longer, we will be in a bear market. Okay, and I've said that for quite a long time. Okay, so if you are really focused still on making altcoin riches, you're probably late now. Hopefully you made them early in the year, because they're not going to be easy coming. Okay, so I'm going on a way big tangent. But when you get to Bitcoin, this B wave is, what I want to be really clear is, if we drop through the blue count, this is important, we probably are not going to hold 24. So if I take, let's say we topped last night, and I don't think that's necessarily the case, but if we did, the B wave B to C projection, which is the 100.0 to the 31382, is 21,248 to 15,760. Okay, so if we are going to dodge past this blue count, then it's going to be a lot lower than 24K, most likely. All probability says that. Okay. All we need is another, it seems really improbable right now, but I would say the whole market, everyone's turning bullish sentiment wise. I can see that by the request numbers. I can see that in the webinar numbers right now in terms of how many people are attending. Sentiment is starting to peak back up. I have all of this is my side data, how much people show up at the webinars, and how much requests I get. I actually can graph it and see sentiment numbers, or I can see sort of waves of sentiment in those numbers. It's really funny when people mostly should show up in a webinar when the market's low, so they know what to be doing tactically. People don't show up, and then they show up when things get hot. I mean, that's all of your human nature at work. People, I can kind of understand, but it's kind of funny how it works. how human nature works. But that's my point. And the other thing is, just like March 2020, don't be surprised by some liquidation event here, like with the sentiment popping back up. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't looked at futures open interest yet, but I'm sure futures open interest has popped up. Don't be surprised by liquidation events to get us there. But it also could just simply be blue count. And I'm also wondering if by the Ether Bitcoin pair chart, that if Bitcoin holds blue count, that Ether actually will not hold its blue count and go down to 1100. I think that's reasonably possible, but that's still pretty severe. So how this story unfolds and how the garbage altcoin charts that we're starting to see play out is kind of an interesting mystery. But all we can do is really chart one chart at a time, weed out the garbage, focus on the ones that are still strong. But that strong list of charts, other than in equities, which are really starting to wake up, is starting to dwindle. It's pretty interesting. I'm starting to have a real hard time finding a nice altcoin chart. Okay, and I'm not at all surprised, because the altcoins really didn't start off well in the 2019 era. They really didn't put in good bases. I warned about them on Elliott Wave Trader for a year and a half. Some of them end up going into strong third waves. Okay, maybe I should have traded some of those more, but I really don't feel sad about that. No regrets. And now they're weak, and that really plays back to 2019 very poor basis. Okay, so that's I'm really not at all surprised by seeing such a garbage altcoin market after what we saw early 2019 with a lot of faulty bases, three-wave moves, non-impulsive structures, and all sorts of garbage we saw in altcoins 2019. We've seen poor follow through in latter 2020. Okay, it took 2 years to see that weakness really start to play into the charts. Okay, not surprised at all. All right, so I'm talking about altcoins as I look at Bitcoin, but I'm bullish on Bitcoin. It's just and we'll see what happens in this this blue count. Zooming in, I don't see enough of a sign of a top yet, but this low that we had overnight, this is a low fourth wave. So if it doesn't hold this low, then at least we have a minor indication of a topping in. If this low here holds, what level is that? I can't see right off the bat, but it's in the, let me do something real quick. Yeah, so it's in the 45,800 region right there. Okay, so if that low breaks, then it's more potential that we have a top in on a micro level, and then we'll be really serious about looking at the blue count. Right now I have, wow, some seriously loud car if you guys hear that. Right now I have sketched in blue support between 49 and 987, 32,545. That is going to adjust if this top adjusts. If it ends up being this top, it's going to drop because I've got the label which is guiding those ratios floating up here as a sketch. When I anchor down, that's what tightens down these levels. That's how the software works. So I've got the red count. If we drop through 32,545 right now, we would be in this black count, which is, it's a bit confusing because this black count is essentially the red count on the daily. So I probably should turn those red just to be a little bit clearer. I will do that for Sunday. I apologize for that confusion if that created any confusion for anybody. But I don't have my price axis is still mucked up. I was talking to support again about this, and I have some things to try, but it isn't fixed. But we've got this. I mean, like I said, down in the 15K region is where this projects. Let me see anything else to say on the daily. I mean, carry on as usual. It's just figuring out whether we hold blue or red. And again, because we have held 24K, in fact, we didn't go very deep into the support region, anywhere close to 28K. I'm going to assume that this is I'm going to assume that this is top of the third wave only, but I'm still going to take substantial profit in that area in case this is the end of the bull market. In a red count where the 4 simply just didn't get very low, because Bitcoin has a tendency to put in thin force, thinner than normal, when you expect lower force. It just has that nature about it. It happens on all time frames, so I have to be ready for that. And then in Ether, it looks like it is in the higher degree fifth wave, so that's the reason. But things can happen out here if you correlate Bitcoin and Ether too much. Things can happen out here where Bitcoin goes on to a fifth wave and Ether puts in a high B. So it's reasonable for them to follow each other up but be in different degrees. That happens all the time. So I wouldn't start correlating Bitcoin and Ether right here and start forcing a point of view, but by correlating the two charts. We'll get to Ether in a second, but hopefully that makes sense in terms of navigation. Just tactically speaking, again, hopefully, I know some people just kind of blew it, like didn't understand, and I apologize for any miscommunication on my end, but I believe I said that in this region I was accumulating. I think I said that almost every week. Some people were selling because they thought we would go to 24. That's not what I ever advised. What I would do tactically then, if you're in that court, is any pullbacks, I would start to add some position. Honestly, in a bull market, you should have some position, even if it's not a great entry, in case we just take off. But most likely we'll have an opportunity to grab some pullbacks in this area, even if we don't take the red count. That may force some of you to buy higher than you sold. I sense that from some people. But I hope that you take that as a tactical lesson. Again, in bull markets, you don't really want to sell at a loss. You don't want to try to micro trade your entire position on the bull market. You never want to be all in, all out in the bull market. There's a lot of rules for being in bull market, as we have been, and hopefully most of you have understood that. For those that are new at this, we'll always reassert these lessons until they come into hardwiring. Okay. It is tough to learn how to manage markets. It's still something that I keep learning to do, but you will learn if you just keep and stick with it. Right now, again, accumulation path for me, like I just look at it like this. As soon as we start pulling back, as soon as we get to the first level of support, I'm going to just be buying. And then I'm just in a situation where I have a decent amount of cash. Where's my triangle? Decent amount of cash in my bank account. And I will be buying all the way down if I have to. See, that's the white one. Sorry, I'm taking a long time finding my triangles. They must have changed things because I don't have triangles. Strange. Used to be in commentary. All right, well, let's do this and then. So in terms of accumulation for me, as soon as we drop into support, it looks like this to me. I would just be buying down, 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 down. I took some recent profit, but really not too much, because this thing could hold a shallow blue count and then take off. It could totally do that. But as soon as we start getting a confirmed top, then I'm going to go back to buying again. A little bit indiscriminately, honestly, in Bitcoin. I will not try to get perfect entries, but I will just be scaling in, and then I will be getting very aggressive into the 32,000 region if that's where we get. If we get that low, I will get very aggressive at the 15,000 level for you actually get there. I'm starting to doubt this count myself too, but again, my job is not to start doubting things. My job as an analyst is to give the range or the risk potential in a market. That is the work of an analyst. That is very different from the work of a trader, which is trying to manage tactics. Okay, so you have to understand that difference when I'm wearing two hats. Sure, they're married in a regard. Sometimes my trading affects my analysis, but I really try to keep them a separate discipline so that they both are very pure to the discipline themselves and maximize the value of each discipline. Okay, and then risk is a big part of being analysis. Obviously, it is with trading too, but trading has position size, current position as an input, and analyst as a real analyst that's sitting in a trade company doesn't necessarily have position. They're just making charts or doing some fundamental work if they're on that side of things. Okay, so you got to really understand that discipline difference when you're working with this stuff. Okay, I am gabbing a lot. Let's look at Ether. Again, this is what I want. With the triple bottom, I find this blue count unlikely. It just doesn't look right to me. Nothing very orthodox about this. I believe there's a lot of altcoins look like this AB, super clean, cleaner than Bitcoin, really begging for lower. In fact, it even has a WXY structure to that B wave, super corrective, not impulsive, very hard to make any kind of bottom structure out of this action. But I put blue count on there as a low probability alternative in my view, and markets like to take low probability paths a lot. They do. If you don't understand that, then you don't know markets yet. They like to take low probability paths. So that's why I always say, who cares if this is primary or tertiary or secondary counts? Markets like to take the low probability route. They like that. I'm not saying all the time, but they like to scare everyone to take the path that not everyone expects. Okay, by structure or technical analysis or whatever. All right. So I still prefer black count by far in BTC. It's not red like on Bitcoin. I expect it fully. It may not get this low, but it's still expected. Going into the micro, it's possible that we topped, but I would rather we stretch still stretch into 38. Have we broken anything? No, we haven't even broken this low here, 31.95. So I still continue to be open for the 33.80 area on this chart. Fibs are kind of calling for it. Let's see. The best thing I can say in terms of, let's clean a couple things up. The best thing I can say in terms, I haven't really dove into this chart too much since I woke up, but it looks to me like 31.50 would be the first sign of a top. That's the 50% mark. So I still expect higher here. No sign of a top yet until we start to break that area. Ether and Bitcoin, this triangle still looks good. I'm just waiting to see if it breaks this. A lot of the technicals look good for a drop in E. It's just going sideways right now, but that sideways is not impulsive, so it should not, setting up impulsively is not clearly yet, so I expect it to go lower. Not much to add on this chart. I haven't said much in the reports lately because it hasn't done much. GBTC, let's see, this is a daily chart. I've moved completely onto it. Same thing as Bitcoin. It's got a weird bottom, a really strange bottom, stranger than Bitcoin, and a small breach of support, but with a premium, I have to give it a lot of grace, all the premium movements. So we're still watching the blue count, but it's been very strong. The nice 5 waves for this C or the end of the 1, really, really nice. And still looks like it wants another high. The thing I was going to say is this is really going to depend on Bitcoin this weekend because it's possible that it has put in the high right here. It does not need to go all the way up there. It's different from the Bitcoin chart, sort of begging for it. And at the end of the day, a little bit weak compared to where Bitcoin is, pushed higher, but maybe over soon. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets that last level. And then again, we've got tentative support here at 27.59, bottom end of it for the blue wave 2, start to break that. And then, though that's all sketched too, I've got that sketched in because we haven't got a hard top. If that breaks, then we have the look down to the, it looks like 17 now is nominal right now. That'll change when we get a hard top, okay, a confirmed top. Anything else to say about GBTC? I don't think so. Ether, Bitcoin, Ether. Yeah, I think I'm done there. Any questions, thoughts? Yeah, and I can see right now that the webinar population has increased quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. So I can see sentiment is running. I'm not going to give you guys numbers, but I can. I think that's state secret, but it's definitely picking up. Is there a reasonable PTC count that shows BTC blowing directly past 50? Not really. That would be quite a surprise. Past 50 and 55K. We're now finishing a pattern here, 5 waves. It would be weird to just continue on. Sometimes you end up with a count that one of these pullbacks is like a tiny, let's see, like best candidate is, this is a 2. That doesn't even work if that's the 2. You could say that, like, for me to expect that, those that are more experienced with LA Wave would understand why this would be crazy, is saying that is our 2. But the problem is, I can spot a problem with that count right off the bat. I'm just going to check it to see. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks to me like that proportion doesn't work. Maybe I'm wrong. It's really close. Like that would be the first of the third, and we're in the third. That would be a weird proportion, though. It's close. It's close. But this doesn't look like 5 waves. So that's I have a real problem with that chart. So, like, is that possible? Yeah, I will always. I mean, just to let you guys know my language. Like, someone says, "Is it possible if?" Yeah, I will answer. Yeah, it's possible. That is not an affirming statement. When I say a market can do something possibly, it is not an affirming statement about what you asked. It sometimes is sarcastic, to be honest. Like, and I'm letting you in on my language secrets here because there's like a lot of people that say, "Is this possible? Is this possible?" And I say, "Yeah, it's possible." That just does. I don't trade what's possible. I trade what is should. I prefer to stay in the should, and me saying possible is not an affirming statement. And and to be honest, it's a little bit sarcastic. Like, and it's sometimes I'm just too busy to deal with the question in terms of going into all of the pros and cons of that situation. Sometimes I can, but most of the time I don't have that luxury. So I cut the conversation off if possible, and then I try to double down on saying, if I'm saying something's possible, you probably don't want to trade it because that isn't possible is not probable. You really should be trading the shoulds or the expected versus with a very tight stop versus trading that sort of weird possibility. When I have the real counts on the chart, it's because I say it's very much a bit more possible, but reasonably probable. It may not be highly probable, but it's reasonably probable. Okay, so that's a really important understanding about language and whatnot. What is the minimum pullback you anticipate before heading much higher? Well, all I can give you is typical. I don't have like minimum expectation is a bit of a weird question to me, but the reasonable pullback for a wave 2 is 382. See 382 as a minimum of the wave 5. Every once in a while we get a thin wave 2. Okay, they're really not common enough to expect. Okay. Yes, they happen, and then that's when everyone goes, I hate Elliott wave because now we just got this thin pullback. Well, those thin pullbacks are really, really, really rare. In fact, most of the time wave 2s pull back to 50%, which is 38 anecdotally to 38, and then actually very common in crypto is a pullback all the way to 98 too. Get a little liquidation in the futures because everyone's right now is probably, I haven't looked at open interest, but I bet you everyone's leveraging up now. Get a little liquidation going and you're all of a sudden at 786. Okay. So it's the expected pullback is 50% for me. Every once in a while you get a thin with 38.2. Every once in a while, blue moon, you get a really, really, really thin version that's 236. Really, really rare. That would only be 44.50. Can't even be recognized at a wave 2, but it's so rare. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, trading the shoulds, not the coulds. Okay, so here is a question. I'm going to address this right now because I didn't. Hi Ryan, can we have an update on Aave and XEM? Okay, Aave is on the weekly chart, so I always cover it. But XEM is a new request I haven't seen in the request threads. Sorry to pick on you, but it really needs to be in the request threads on Friday. I don't take requests in the question box. So I'm using that. I'm using your question here to do housekeeping and remind that I don't take new requests in the question box. Ryan, if I have cash to put to work, would you buy short-term strength in Bitcoin? If so, what tactics would you use? I buy pullbacks. I'm a pullback trader. I always buy pullbacks after a strong move. So I will be buying this block area here. If you are feeling super light, you might try to buy early, but I'm not buying strength. The strength is shown. I'm not buying it. So just again, tactically speaking, I'm a pullback trader, not a breakout trader. Breakout traders buy high. Pullback traders buy low after strength. So I am waiting for this strength to resolve, waiting for the pullback. I want to lower my cost. I recently took profit in this area into this strength. Actually, I would think a lot of the profit I took down here, not up here in the last couple of days. I probably took a couple things I don't remember. I did take some GBTC off, but I'm a pullback trader. So if you ask me, what you would want to do, I'm gonna give you basic principles that I believe. I believe in buying pullbacks after strength. Okay, so that's what I would suggest. Unless you are feeling extra light and you have hardly anything and you feel like you need a position, you might take a different tactic. Mark the triangle for Ether. I would do it this way. Because we have a lot of uncertainty in the Ether chart, I would do it like this, all the way down to the bottom of support. From the blue count to the support, I really will add very little Ether into the blue box. I already have some. I prefer to lower my costs given this chart. This chart's highly improbable to break out. From here, I would buy all the way down into the triangle, which would be like about 1100 region. Hey Ryan, just a thought for the service's sake, laugh. Have you considered removing Tezos and Litecoin as top mentions in the service description? I haven't even looked at the service description, and that's a good point. Actually, you may want to change it that make a statement that altcoins are junk. No, I don't know. I'll take a look at it. I haven't looked at that description in a long time. Good point. In fact, I think I owe Rich a rewrite. Are you planning to use Nexo loans to accumulate on a pullback in BBC? I already have Nexo loans out. I mean, that cash is ready to put to work. Some of my cash is Nexo loans. So loans have been taken out, done, check. Got to be careful with those, obviously, margin calls, but I will be very careful with that cash that I've got. But yeah, I've already done that. I won't take new loans. I took it at the top, or low, the recent action. Did fifth wave range change from 19K to? There's no tie down here. Like if you're talking about this, it's an estimate. Like I've talked about that. Guys, a lot of people want to jump way ahead. This is an estimate, 8,000, 12,000. I think Jason has an option that's like 16,000. This is a sketch out here. You can only use the really wide range. If it's slipped down to you, perceptively slipped down, it's because I'm not paying attention to it myself. And it's just a sketch. Like a sketch means it's very movable. Why? Because we don't have the action in between. Okay, we have this. Like again, when you know Elliott wave after a while, you know that you get a macro view, but the macro view remains extremely wide, especially in crypto. And then when you start to get action at a shorter time frame, you can start to kind of batten down the hatches. And we don't have anything indicating exactly where this is likely to be out here. It's jumping way ahead for me. So that's something to really understand about Elliott wave, is that as the smaller time frames form, you get clarity in the larger time frame. Right now it's a sketch. It's the same thing with I believe we'll see at least 125 Bitcoin and fairly likely 150. Ultimately, when we get up here, where's this at? It's at 158.891. That's very arbitrary. I'm just literally looking at the channel, which the channel isn't even broke. The channel is not even locked down, because I had on this 3, if we have a higher 3, an alternate channel is up in this region. So this is going to move. So there's a big region up here, 125, 100. If I'm having a good day, I wake up in the morning and I've had really good coffee and all of that, then I might say 150 that day. If I've had a really bad day, I'm feeling really grumpy, I might say 125 day. That's how much where exactly we put this. I'm kind of joking, but that's about how important where we put this right now. It's really just a guide until we have a little bit more understanding of this structure out here. Then we can kind of start to tighten that down. Okay, we're even having trouble with this move up here because it's so overlapping, and it could be a situation where all the action in here is so choppy and difficult that we have very imprecise targets, and that's a market you got to watch out for, and maybe take some profit early so that you don't get trapped. And I probably would if we see that, but I cannot predict from here what type of market we're going to have. Fourths and fifths are more difficult than thirds. The third is done. I mean, this was easy. That's the easy part. This rest of this is getting more difficult, and you have to recognize that. And that's also why the altcoins are turning into junk one by one. All right. I think I have no more questions, but if more come up, no problem. We'll go do that. I'm going to first do the weekly charts, and then we'll go through each of the service requests. All right. Aave, I think Jason has something else, and I probably want to take a look at his count, because I don't think this is third wave action here, guys. At least on a qualitative basis, I don't trust this action anymore. I would say if you're trading this aggressively, I would take I would take any of Jason's counts seriously, and I trade his counts too. When I think he's onto something, I would look seriously at his count right now, because I don't think my count is performing seriously. Not third wave action right now. I don't have a replacement. I'm going to study his count too to see what I'm missing. I haven't had a chance to look at his stuff, so that's actually very typical. We have no time to look over each other's shoulder at all. But it's really not behaving how it should. Again, what's the theme right now? Altcoins suck. I mean, they really are, and this one's not behaving as aggressively as the setup down here said, and it's having a real hard time start. If we do break over this 429 high here, and we don't move, then we move really directly here in this third of third. I gotta slide all my labels over as I talk, which is always multitasking is always difficult for me. Then I would feel different, but it's gonna happen. We gotta see a heart of a third here. Like the heart of the third is the third of the third, and we really haven't seen it hit hard. So if we get over 429 and we are pushing directly to 513, that would be a good sign for this count. But right now, pretty questionable, guys. And I need to look at Jason's count, see how I feel about it, and study it and see if I see something else. It's been a nice return this week. I mean, not bad, but not behaving exactly how it should. FTM, I look at this and it looks more like we are in the third but have a diagonal is the way it's starting to look like to me, because again, like Aave, it's exceptionally choppy for the third. So this may simply be a diagonal. But if we top like everything else, then actually I have wave one up here with an extended wave one, which is a bit weird looking proportionally. It may actually be an ABC as an alt. So if we top right here aggressively, this count will change with the wave one up here. And that would actually set it up nicely for the $2.50 top. So another altcoin getting super choppy. ADA. I still like getting a fourth and fifth here. It's always possible that this chart is topped already, tops directly, and we don't get that fourth. Let's see if this get all data refresh. Yeah, so really strong. I'm going to look at my holdings on this one and pair back because this is getting pretty hot right now, and it's hot. But again, back to the base. The base is faulty. The base does not say strong breakout, and maybe we're almost at the all-time high. And so maybe that's where it starts to see rejection. We'll see. The other thing about this is we've got a higher and higher B wave. When we finally get a top, I'll really need to retarget this 4 because it's typical that we get some symmetry, A, B, C, C was symmetric to the A with a little bit of extension on it. And that probably puts us closer to 80 cents than down in the 64 cent region. So not a top yet, not much to say yet. Sushi, don't really like this chart right now. I am waiting to see how the red fills out before I take a fresh position on this. I'm most interested in the 2 after. This is again example of strength. Let strength fill out and prove itself, and then buy the pullback. It's a great example. And for Elliott wave, that strength is always 5 waves. So I get a lot of questions out like, what would make you change your opinion on this? Well, sometimes it's not level, it's simply structural. It needs to stop moving correctively. It needs to move as an impulse. And that's true, very true of this one. And true of all the altcoins that I've basically shared with you this morning. They're all kind of moving correctively. Anchor moving very correctively, really grumpy chart. I stand by this count right now. It was always a diagonal and not an impulse. We'll see if that changes. So it should move back to the channel, basically. Let's see. Start to lighten these. BNB should get it. We're in the B wave resistance area. It's possible to count this way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and C. I need to get the triangle off, but it's possible. What I'm saying is it's possible that the B wave top is in with this 5. I would prefer to have 3, 4, and 5 before we drop into C. Fair, again, faulty base. This is not an impulsive base. Could form to some kind of weird diagonal, ending diagonal up into the 1400 region. Would be really weird. So again, I stand by the fact that all of this action is corrective and it should get a bloodbath going. It's one of those charts that really expect it, but a difficult chart when you're moving in that much corrective action. So things change rapidly. That's the other thing about corrective action is opinions can change fairly rapidly. CRX, no change here. We held support here. Good, great. We need a 3, 4th, and 5th before we say that this one is in a good spot. Again, I've said I don't really like this action, but I do have a very tortured count on it. If we get below 53 cents, I'm bearish. It would be great to see it get to 1 and then hold 2. I will take an aggressive position at 2 if it looks right. Luna, I do not have a position yet, even though I've put it on the list. I think Jason has a different take, which of course you should look at. But I've been looking at it as this diagonal. If it starts stretching a little bit farther, I would have to question this, but I will scale in basically. Like, to me, this is a good triangle chart with like this kind of scale in. I don't see any reason to buy here. I would buy closer to the channel like that. And you can see how that 4 can be very close to 2, so you don't have to take much of a. You could take off some profit in 1 and then buy at 2, rescale in, but hold some at 1. So pretty easy tactics on that. Very sloppy chart though, but it looks like it wants to break out. It's building towards a breakout. I just think it needs to back and fill in this area a bit more. Math. This does not look like an impulse to me naturally, so I'll need to see how that forms. I don't really have much to say about this chart until that has clarity. But again, it has this crazy projection that's up to 54. I will start to say that that's likely when we get 5 up to red, but right now we're so far from that. So I'm watching this action pretty closely. Again, I already own some speculatively, not terribly excited about that position until we see that 5 waves. Z, this is junk action. I mean, it's really, really unreliable. Let's see if it gets some sort of ugly diagonal in here. Again, ideally we have 5 up to this blue box. It seems to be missing that, so really not terribly positive about this. It's pretty close to coming off the radar, but we'll see how that fills in here. I'll give it a chance until we do that. Equities, weekly equities, MSTR, MicroStrategy. Let's see. I think this is starting to look more like the A is here, and then we're back in the B, to be honest. I'm not ready to change that per se right now. I don't see anything bearish. I just see something super sloppy and ugly. And we need some micro clarity in this. Hopefully we'll get this week, but it looks like a pretty ugly diagonal forming, and I do think the AB is probably here, which is going to basically make the support area, reestablish it. The support area changes. But I'll watch the action this week before I say anything hard about that. I just think it's fairly probable. I don't. In terms of tactics on this one, I'm not doing anything. I don't have enough at risk on this one to do anything. But the Canadian symbol. I know people ask me this week if I have my data fixed for HVPT and HUT. I don't. I still don't have that all fixed. It's a little project. I've got it on my list. I'll see if I can get it done this weekend. But I have a to-do list that I have, are still sitting around from before my move. That I haven't, family situation and all that stuff has just blocked me from getting everything done. So I've got priorities I've got to finish before I fix all that data stuff. This chart, I mean, it's great over 702 right now. So that's the support level, 702, 50% of the third. Other than that, not much to add. Looks like it might come down this week into the early week, but nothing bullish showing. Sorry, nothing bearish showing on this chart at all. Looks pretty darn good. Bad back here, but like the way the structure is here, it looks pretty good. Where's my 5? Oh, my 4. Here's my 4. So it's this is a diagonal. So once we since this is a diagonal, if it doesn't hold the 702, let's find the trend line. If it doesn't hold the 702, we can look at the channel, because this is a diagonal in terms of this is 3 waves back here. So we can do this as well, and if it doesn't hold 702, it can drop to the channel. I would just buy more. Only thing I did this week on this one is covered some puts that I sold, and if I got down into this channel, I would sell them again to collect that premium. Other than that, carry on. Nothing bearish about this chart. Drastically bearish about this chart. Just a little bit sloppy. Hive, questionable bottom, but I've committed to it for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe done with the 5. What we would hope in this one is that after we get the 5th wave, that this 2 is clean, and then we can look forward to a clean launch in the 3rd wave. Riots. Still in this 2, pretty sloppy in here, very illiquid. I'm okay with as long as it holds 3258, which is a 7,686 retrace of the 1st wave, and then move all these. You can see how good I am at timing. I always have to move my labels to the right. You guys haven't noticed. That's why I always dodge the question on timing. None of my work is based on timing. Otherwise, I would just land these exactly where I expected them to be, but I don't have. Some 3rd waves are slower than others. Let's see, Marathon. Looking good above 32.28, but right now it looks like it's going to challenge it if it breaks. This is an alternate A, and then we're still in B, and we're bullish. I consider it bullish as long as we hold this circle too, so we got quite a long way. Looking at this action here, I wish I was paying attention at the end of the day. I probably would have taken a little bit off, and I didn't. But we may see it break minor support here in the coming week potentially, especially if Bitcoin starts getting routed. Silvergate's trying to break out, struggling with this area, so not much to add here. You can see it's just struggling with that support, that resistance region. There's little clarity that this B bottomed even, so I don't really have much of a add here. It's just struggling in that area. I talked about 120 and hasn't decisively broken out yet. Galaxy looking pretty good. Let's the one thing I warn is that this is a very illiquid chart even on the Canadian symbol, so micro is tough. Ideally I would like to see it hold 22.12. It looks like it could break that this week potentially. I'd have to look at what else we could call this, but it still looks to me like the bottom is in regardless. I just have to understand the structure. Voyager, not impulsive action clearly, so I'm not sure that we're gonna, we'll have to see. We want 5 waves here to say that we don't fall in the B. This B can show up anytime, and we can have this B down here now with the action that we have, which is corrective. So I don't have any high probabilities. To me, if this is an easy one again, looking at this from a triangle perspective, it's just accumulate. I have a small position because it looked like we might have bottomed, but I left so much cash in this position. And then you can imagine getting this at $4 and selling it at 96. That would be brilliant. So to me, this is the tactic that you can use for positioning when the microstructure is so sloppy. Clean Spark, I probably should just take this off because I'm tired of looking at it. It's not anywhere near where I'd want to buy. Let's see. So I mean, same story. We haven't ended the correction yet. So I might take it off just to save the energy, and then we can bring it back when it's. The problem is if I take it off, then I may lose track of it. That's the issue. Stock. Stock is another one that's more, it should be stocking, not buying. Still looking for this to, well, I'd have to fix all those labels, but I expect to move down to the 25 region, basically. Maybe hold the 30 region, so way too early to buy that. Any questions about the weekly charts before I move on to the requests? Let's see. When you scale into a triangle, do you have any personal rules or guidelines that you follow in terms of what percentage of available cash you use? No, because I'm always looking at my portfolio. So, just talking about inputs to affect that. Sometimes I could say, okay, I have $2,000 dedicated to this position. Let's just do like 30% when we hit the triangle, get up to like 50%, so 80% at the more expected support level, and then deep support, maybe another 20%. Sometimes I do, if I'm really unsure about a chart, I might do like up to 50% in the triangle, even when it's all done, and then wait for an impulse, and then I'll add on the impulse. So basically adding to a trade that's working versus adding to a trade just catching the knife. Because when you're trading the triangle, you're really catching the knife. Like we just have something pulling into the region, and then you're buying it while it's in a downtrend, and you haven't seen the impulse. And so I prefer sometimes to do a little in the triangle and then wait for the impulse. There's certain charts like ADA, Ether that are just been highly reliable all year and are not showing any macro level weakness. I will approach, so that's another input, and I will approach those more aggressively, like just catching the knife. So, when Ether was dropping into its support region, I was posting, right, when we were down in, use an example, Ether chart, I'm very confident in, as we were hitting these support levels, we're almost to the region I was buying, and I just happened to have a bunch of profit from those lazy buys, right? And so opportunistically, I am taking some of that off. Incidentally, guys, I'm not suggesting it as a vehicle, but one of the things I did was took a very, very small position in the KuCoin triple leverage coin, since I don't have anywhere to use leverage, and it was pretty good. It was like, I think I was in and out a couple times on a very small position, and I think it was like I doubled the money from this move, something like that. So I have to look back at the records, but that trade was pretty good. So I was buying I mean, and it was well underwater because there were early buys, but I scaled into that leverage coin down here and took it off recently. I don't have any right now. So that is, it's just something you could think about. There's no margin calls in. The problem is triple leverage coins decay. If you look at a chart, you can see how clear it decays. It's pretty bad, but you really don't want to be them in very long because they're kind of toxic assets. Worse than most altcoins, but it worked for me. Anyway, sorry, that's the whole point about triangles. I mean, how confident in the chart? Do I want to catch? Like, I don't mind catching the knife on this, but a lot of like altcoins, like let's use an example. Sorry, I went on the tangent earlier, but altcoins like this, I don't want to catch the knife here, even though you can literally put a triangle here. Because one reason, I've never traded this one before, other than the small liquidity position I have. Two, this is a crazy count that I don't trust. Number three, it's just a no-name altcoin. Like, who's to say it even ever gets another 5 waves? Like we've had, altcoins in 2017, we have a lot of 5 waves that never led to more. Like using Ripple as an example. It's basically a dead chart, as an example. So I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's a lot of set 2017 5 waves that just have failed in 2019 to 2021. So, who's to say this one gets anywhere at all? So that's a factor. So there's a lot of inputs to that question. So I can't give you like a one answer. It's just something you have to learn in managing your portfolio. And when you say Bitcoin easy 3 is done, do you mean 3 of 3 and now we're working on, yeah, the third of the third is always the easy part to trade. That is, it is the easiest. It is the fastest. It is the most profit. This is where all the liquidity in the market is. This is where all the new buyers are coming in. People, when we broke out over this level, you can see that people just started coming in droves. Look at how the volume has paired off. We might see we might see a climax volume over all the previous levels in the fifth potentially. In either one of these fifths, we might still see it, but you can see all the buying that was happening, and you can see, now I know that a lot of institutions have been buying big time through here, but that's what institutions do. They fleece. Well, they're not intending to fleece the retailer, but they're having to. They want to move where retailers are selling naturally because that's when they can get the best deal. It's not fleecing the retail per se, but retailers have the other habit about them. So what I'm just saying is the heart of the third is done. I mean, same thing with Ether. I mean, Ether and the Bitcoin pair. I mean, the easy part is done. I mean, here we have all of the third, but that third is of a diagonal. So the easy part of this bull market is done. Don't be discouraged if you haven't captured it. You always have a chance to do things to improve as you go along. And I think I would have much for my own trading. Honestly, I would have been much more aggressive back here than I was. So that I do have my regrets too, but I don't live in them. I don't dwell in them. That happens. So hopefully that makes sense. Entries for HUT if no position currently. You can try a little bit this week in a drop, but since I brought up that it could be a diagonal, you can add. I don't want to keep drawing triangles because I have to reformat them every time. But 702 to the channel, 702 to 587. You can start adding. I mean, you can start adding now. Just keep it light. Like just when you're adding this high. I mean, this might end up being a triangle, and then we get the fifth or extend this third. If I got a triangle here, I'd probably call that an extension of the third. So in fact, I think potentially if this stays thin, that is the fourth of the third extends. So you can take a small position and then add down into 587 if you get it. And again, one thing motion that everyone I think has to get over is don't try to always be full position. You really don't. I want to skip the triangle just because this webinar is take, but just imagine, just use your mind's eye, like from here to 587 would be the triangle. I just don't want to reformat another triangle because I don't have the default set, so it's coming in white and it's annoying. Hope that makes sense. All right, so no more questions there. I'm going to move on to requests, and then more come up, no problem. Comp, I think it's a tough chart. it looks to me like, well, we almost broke 2, probably invalidated. So I'm just gonna take it off. Probably invalidated, but this is corrective, so I don't see an impulse. I would say this B wave rally can get as high as 1665 before it comes undone and drops in 2. 2 probably will be in this region based on, but we'll have to see where the B wave top forms. And then if I was to expect a breakout, we would need to see a diagonal because we don't have an impulse. So this would need to prove to be the 3rd wave, 4th and 5th, and diagonal. And I don't have a reason to expect that right now until I see more. So I'll stick with the blue count right now, the red count for now. This black count is still a potential. I just find it low probability. Black count again is a long-term top is in. Graph, I just want to remind everyone, with me, you want to use symbols. So I assume graph is GRT. If it's something else, I'm sorry, I can put it on the board later. But you want to use symbols with me. We have a long-term C wave top, and I don't have anything here that says we're going to break out. I mean, if I get a pullback that tests a low and a higher low here, I'll have to look at something. But again, like, there are people that like to come back to these charts all the time. I get, C wave top, and then someone requests for it. C wave top, someone requests for it. C wave top, someone requests for it. Sorry, it's nothing I can do with this chart. There's nothing bullish in this chart. So if this is a new request, my apologies, but I've seen people kind of go back to these garbage charts quite a bit. So just trying to steer you guys. If you want to ignore me, you can ignore me. The request is for ETHE 2 hour. I really can't get anything from the 2 hour chart, to be frank. It's just not liquid enough. This is why I don't trade this chart typically and to get a clear setup. It's possible that, and again, this speaks to the difficulty of the chart. It's possible that this is the 3-4 and we extend into the 34 region here. But I can't read it very well. The 2 hour offers me nothing, to be frank. Really poor liquidity in this chart. I still expect a drop here, just like I expect an ether. This is a 3-wave move very clearly. So, but the 2 hour doesn't tell me any more information that I can make sense of. So, sorry, it's just the way this chart is, and that's why I don't trade it very often, because it's worse than. GBTC is more readable. It also moves similar to Bitcoin, and ETHE just doesn't move very similarly to Ether. Solana, so L, that's a symbol I actually know. This week this invalidated the triangle, but hasn't invalidated the AB. And in fact, again, like Ether, same structure as Ether. It's basically the same. Highly corrective, fully expect to drop. If I see a diagonal in this, or let's see, invalidated the triangle, right? Yeah, invalidated the triangle, so I can't get a bullish triangle out of this. I had a bearish triangle, but invalidated that and the bullish triangle if you're looking for it. And I only have this ABC, so I still expect lower. So I don't have any, there's nothing invalidated. In fact, you'd have to, in this chart, it's crazy, but we could get a high B up to 77 and then still collapse. It would change the target from this, but it's really hard to get anything bullish out of the structure unless it's some big diagonal. But then the diagonal is just going to finish up in the 90s and then it's done. It's long-term top. So really not I own like a few Solanas to pay my fees on Radium, but I would definitely be looking at buying it if it got down into the 12 region. I have really no interest in this chart here and now. Just not very good. I'll keep what I have to pay my fees and just let it be. AXS is the hot coin of the week, like ICP a few weeks ago. Oh no, it's not this one. There's another one, right? What is it called? ACH? I think it's ACH is an interesting one that may end up on my altcoin chart. This continues to be toppy in terms of a finished structure. I just haven't seen the reaction to it, so nothing to add here. It hasn't really done much. It's been sideways all week, so it may be just waiting for Bitcoin to come down, but no change on the chart. Still looks like it's coming down soon. Any alt on this? I don't have one that's clear. I don't have an alt more bullish view that's clear on this chart. If it starts to surprise, then I'll have to pull one out, but it's looks like a completed chart to me. So no change there. Fortress, again, this is one you want to do the symbol, not the name. I had to hunt for it this morning. but there's nothing bullish in this chart. It is pure junk from my view. ABC top. I mean, I'll have to see what happens here, but I mean, the MACD looks okay for this. It gets some bullish candles, but it's still an ABC top, so I don't have anything good to say about this chart yet that is clearly meaningful. But I covered, again, ABC chart. I'm never gonna be kind to a ABC top. Never will until it surprises. BITF. Could form an ascending triangle here based on this. I don't have much to add. Support is 639. I took some profit this week. I announced that, as I recall. I think I did, or maybe I never announced that I had the position. No, I did. But we could get a ascending triangle and head up here. I don't have any edge on red versus black. I prefer black looking at this, but the miners. I mean, it's possible this one has a bloodbath while some of the miners pull back in wave 2. I don't know, or we could get this diagonal. We just don't have trust. This is our bottom right here, and it's not a trustworthy base, so I kind of prefer black. A little bit different from Ether, which has a improbable bottom, but this one could bottom. It's a little bit different, but still similar. DMGI. I think this one's been looking pretty good, right? I don't have a position in here. I need to think about it. Looks like it's in wave 4. That's probably an excuse for me to get a position. I like it down to 107, so triangle from here to 107 would be the way you approach it. Still need that top of the wave 1, and then we'll map that out. But yeah, I mean, could be a good scalp this week actually. 116 if we get it to 180 would be a pretty good little return for a quick trade. I don't know if I would suggest scalping Canadian lower liquidity, but from a pure Elliott wave perspective, it looks pretty good. Let's see, Matic. I have not looked at this one all week. Yeah, I still like this B wave top C. This is still an unfinished looking correction, but ABC. What will happen here is that when this guy finishes 5 waves, I will create kind of the alternate blue count like in Bitcoin, because it's entirely possible that the correction finished, but I still prefer black. I will just come out with an alternate that has support. I don't have right off the bat where that support's likely to be. I would need a top and B anyway to map it out. HVBT I don't have working, or HUT, the American symbol. I don't have the data working yet for those, so I'll need your patience on that. I'll try to get to it this weekend. Dash, nothing bullish in this chart still. I'm not really sure why this is coming up because I don't have anything to add, unless you're just trying to get out of it, which I would be thinking about getting out of it. I mean, again, we had diagonal structure, and then now we're operating outside of the channel. That's bearish from this structural standpoint. And then we topped in 3 waves, didn't finish the 5th. If it surprises and sets up for the 5th, great. I can create an alternate count, but right now you've got a very clear channel break and bearish structure underneath. Very, very, very clear. So I don't understand wanting to own this one, to be honest. Just calling it like it is. I would be using this area to get out if you are. And again, I am saying I would be. That is not a recommendation. That is so much as principle basis. This is a perfect chart to really get into a bloodbath, operating under the channel like that. Some people may feel different about it, but I just don't see any merit in this chart right now. I'm not sure I'll ever see merit in that chart because it's probably going to die in the bear market. That's another reason to be very, very careful. BTCM, I mean, unreliable chart. Just looking to say we have got 5 waves here, no sign of 5 waves yet. So, it might be trying here, but even this is all questionable structure. So, best I can tell is that we want the 4th wave to hold 630. That's about the best I can say. but it's a completely unreliable chart. If I see a 1-2, then I'm really more willing to trade this chart. But XLM long term. Long term, this is all corrected junk, which I've stated many times. This is a great example of a piece of crap alt. 3-wave top in 2017, where most things saw 5 waves. This thing couldn't finish an impulse. But 5 down has it. So I'm going to gab on this one for a while, and I'm going to basically give you no answer because there's no reliable long-term view. We haven't broken out yet over the 3 waves. If we do, we get a C wave. I should put this C. That's ABC. So that is a long-term ABC because we had 3 waves back here. It looks like 5 down, but it's not if it's a B. And then we get a C here. So big, giant corrective junk. Yes, it's possible we can get up to the 22 region, but right now, until we hold wave 2, why even talk about it? I mean, honestly, especially with, I mean, it's maybe working through stuff, but I would want to see the higher lows into this region, and then maybe worth trading this this big C wave to the 13 region, $10 region, great. But it's impossible Elliott wave wise to go past this ABC structure because, again, ABC structures offer no future projection that's reliable. That's where Elliott wave sort of quits its usefulness until we get another pullback, and then we can map another C wave. It may even go to all-time lows. So I don't see this as a long-term chart to trade, invest in, or anything. As long, at least from an Elliott wave perspective, it doesn't offer that. So you can ignore the Elliott wave perspective. I mean, a lot of people do that, but it doesn't offer anything on a long-term perspective. All right, so dots broke long-term support. I've said that over the last several. So my primary right now is a C wave top, and that we are setting up a bloodbath. I don't expect, if I get like an A B here that projects to this pivot point, great. But I don't have a reason to expect that until it just does. Okay. We have a long-term C wave top and a break of support. It was only a small break, but it still is a failed impulse completely. So there is alternatively that this is action we can ignore because it started in the beginning, but we had a lot of action in this area that was liquid action. So I don't have a reason to ignore it. If we ignore this, we can say, okay, we have an impulse to here, and then we're getting a giant third wave, and we're going into like 4 digits. But I don't have to worry about missing that because we'll get 5 waves and hold a pullback that will show that path to be the case. I don't really want to worry about that now. There's no reason to. And then on top of it, we are, latter stages of the bull market. So why would we expect this to fight off this break of support? Let's see what happens. So, I mean, this is another example of people coming back to DOT after I've said it broke long-term support. I'm not going to change my answer until it shows a setup for higher. So just keep that in mind. It's pretty tough for technical damage like this to recover. Very hard. Next question was how to do pivots. I'll do that at the end. I'm also it's too deep of a topic to cover without another hour. I'll just do a couple of similar pivots. I'll point you to my videos where I cover pivots. It's 2 years old now, but I do the same stuff now. So I'll point you to that so you can dive into it yourself. But that is really, unfortunately, really a topic beyond this webinar. So we'll do what we can in very quick fashion. Micro in BGX, that chart precludes doing micro work. Really, I'll see if I have any take, but the problem is this is all illiquid here. So is this the right? Oh, Voyager coin. Sorry, wrong chart. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything offer on the micro here. It's just too illiquid. So the best I can say is what I have been saying is that most likely it has a B wave top in this region, gets into the C wave, and then I would And very much blue is very much an alt. So we'll see if it holds support, gets a resistance. But me weighing in on, like, if I go to 2 hour, me weighing in and all of this junk action, I don't have opinion. I really don't. It's really nothing. There's really nothing for me to say about this junk. I mean, best I can call, this is an A, B, C quite clearly because there's nothing impulsive here. So I mean, if it's meaningful to you to add this ABC, sure. I mean, that's a reasonable way of looking at this. But I mean, this is just trash action. There's nothing reliable in that action at all. BBKCF and then BIGG, same chart. I think people are asking for this, as I understand, because they're excited about Garrett's take on it. Garrett likes expanding diagonals, and I don't, so I'm not excited about this. I do think this is a decent little wannabe setup, but it's broken through the channel, and then in crypto, I mean, this is a stock, it's not crypto, but in crypto we rarely get the expanding diagonals, and in equities it's more common. So it may be that I need to be more graceful towards expanding diagonals, but I never trade them, so I don't really like this. But it is reasonable, if you guys are excited about this, to have a stop at this low here if you wanted to, which is at 65 cents. It's reasonable. I won't target this until I see more action because it's an ugly diagonal. Getting a target from here is a no-go. So you guys probably wanted a different answer. It seems like you guys were excited about that. A couple of you guys came in with that. I'm not excited about it. That's my take. Same thing in the Canadian. Now there is a question that would you trade the Canadian or would you trade the OTC? It's an easy answer for me. I always trade the Canadian over the OTC because I have access to the Canadian market. On Interactive Brokers, I will always choose that because it's liquid. The American OTC is about the only one that's liquid that I know of is really GBTC. It's really the only liquid one. It's the only OTC I really trade aggressively. So I will always trade the Canadian just so I can read the chart better. Very simple answer to me. No, there's no real hard answer there. So it is avoid OTC if possible. All right. Yeah, so sorry I can't give, it's an expanding diagonal. I can't give very good targets until we get some more micro, but your choice if you want to trade it. I mean, I might try a lotto, but I've got enough hot trades going on. OMG, again, the question is, do I see anything in this chart? Well, this is a permanently damaged chart. I'm never going to see anything on this chart. It's the same thing. We're coming back to an ABC again and looking for a different answer, and there's no different answer. I mean, we'll see if we get this red thing. I don't know what to make of this. Let's see if it has any confluence with C above. I mean, this is really garbage action, all of it. Doesn't mean you can't make a return, but you got your work cut out for you. I mean, honestly, if I put, let's see, if I take out that, yeah. So there is technically confluence here, but the problem is you're trading in ABC, so you have probabilities stacked against you. There's no changing that in this chart. You have probability stacked against you. Be my guest if you want to take your shot, take your chance. But at least there's confluence between the 200 extension of this 1-2 and that C. So that's 1 point for it, but it's still a C wave. So again, I'm gonna always be puzzled, guys. I'm always gonna be puzzled when these destroyed charts come back to me as a request. I'm just gonna look at why are we looking at this again? I'm sorry to be tough on that, but it is my trade plan speaking. I mean, I'm going to pick on this chart now. So no change in Litecoin. I expect this is all corrective action. I expect a lower. So lower near the channel. You can draw your own channel by tying. I don't have accurate price targets when we're dealing with channel behavior. But this chart, painful chart. The other thing about this long-term chart is, I'll tell you, this is 3 waves. This looks like a B wave, and it may be that the bull market on this one is over from a longer term perspective, and it is about to take a brutal bloodbath in a wave 2 off a 3-wave top in 2017. Yeah, I feel for people that come back to this chart. I really do, but I'm gonna again try to sway people by looking at the LTC BTC chart. I'm going to try to convert some away from Litecoin again. This is the chart, okay? It's a lifetime downtrend versus Bitcoin. I mean, another one is Ripple versus Bitcoin. It's a lifetime downtrend, guys. There's nothing about this chart says it's reversing. We can't get anything, you know, it's just bloody. You got, if you're owning Litecoin over Bitcoin, like be frank, get some religion. Like it's just you're just destroying your Bitcoin, your crypto accounts, you know. I don't know how else to put it. Like, you know, Ripple's the same way. Like, I don't know why, you know, I'm trying to use tough language. Just, you know, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I don't get it. Like, you know, it's really, you're not getting anything from doing that. Okay, Rari, I assume this is like slang for Ferrari. I don't have anything to add here. There's just actions still corrective. So, you know, if I see five, you know, it's the same gig. Like, you know, do we get 5 waves in the first of the third? You know, and you want that first of the third to be in between the first of the third to be in between the 382 and ideally 618. But see, I can't even fit 5 waves into this area. Maybe it pulls in a diagonal. So it doesn't. I don't think it looks good for this in terms of clean pinball. So I'm not going to be left with a very reliable chart. And then on top of it, it's ABC back here. So it's very, very, you know, it's looking at this, it could be ABC and then puke. So, you know, we'll see. It's going to have to prove a lot to me in terms of pulling it off. Matic, I covered. Okay, so we're good. All right. You know, and again, I hope I'm not insulting anyway. Like, I'm not trying to insult. I'm just trying to shake people from this attraction to garbage charts. Like, they're all, people are coming back to them. And, you know, I will be wrong on some of them, and some of them will take off, and someone will get mad to me. But what I'm trying to do is get you guys to have a reliable P&L over a long period of time, and trying to, you know, train you into looking at stuff the right way for low risk trading. And, you know, I know a lot of people here are here for the altcoins, for the altcoin gambling, and they want quick return. They want to get those quick riches. Tendency for those people is for them to take so many bloodbaths and drawdowns in their trading that they're rendered handicapped financially, at least as regard to their trading accounts. That is the common, and you know why I know that? Because I've been there and I've mentored many people, or not mentor people, but met many people in my day in, day out that have done the same thing to themselves. It is just a common behavior. And if you're always trading for that quick return, and trying to get hot charts, and you're not focused on risk management, you are probably not going to be successful long term. It's very rare for someone that is focusing that way to be successful long term, because they just take too many drawdowns. And just remember that if you take a 50% drawdown, you got to double your money to get your money back. That's you know, just think about that math, guys. You drop 50% drawdown, you got to now get a double in your whole portfolio just to break even. And that's why you should avoid any kind of 50% drawdown unless it's a really tiny position and you're accumulating slowly or something like that. But generally, for a trade, unless it's like an option trade, which is like 1% of your portfolio or something, or less than that, you know, it's a little different. But, you know, if you're buying these altcoins with a large part of your crypto portfolio and you've got 50% drawdowns, you're doing this all wrong. You know, so it's just, you know, just keep that in mind. If you got 50% drawdown on something you want to accumulate slowly over a period of time, that's fine. But that means you've got a lot of cash left, you know, so that just, you know, take this seriously, please. And if you're coming back to your, so again, another request is coming up here. Is your last count for XRP still valid? I haven't looked at it because it wasn't in the request thread yesterday. So I haven't looked at it this morning, so I'm not Sure. I'll post it Sunday night. I think someone's got it in Elliott Wave as a request. So I'll look at it Sunday night. Again, after the webinar, just to remind, your last chance to get a request out of me is using those request threads on Friday. I look at them in the morning before I jump on the webinar. Some of them I miss, but I try to figure out the ones that I just don't know. And then after the webinar is over, I post the charts. I've got to get the recording up, and then I take my weekend and hang out with my family. So I just want you guys to remember that. So do your diligence. Get those requests into the request thread on Elliott Wave, Trader, and SA. Seeking Alpha, and then I will cover it. But otherwise, you're just gonna have to hold your horses till Sunday night, because I got so much business to catch up on. I don't know what this one means. WITH space T. I'm not really sure what that means. Yeah, you got to get those in there, because I got to take my break too. I got to have a life as well. Seeking Alpha has been talking about a bear market for crypto in approximately 2022. SA. I don't. Okay, any author on Seeking Alpha that is not from our team, I don't listen to. So SA has been talking about a bear market for crypto in 2020, 2013. I don't know who on SA, but I ignore all SA authors if they're not on our team, frankly. I don't want to diss on anyone personally, but I just don't pay attention. Is Elliott Wave Trade forecasting a bear for equities in the same time frame? I don't know. You got to consult. You got to consult Avi on the market itself. I trade the market like just so you know, when I trade in the indexes and futures, when I trade the stock market, I'm very short term. Like I close trades within a day. I'm a day trader when it comes to the stock market, except for a few of my dividend stocks and longer term positions, which like when I see signs of a big bear market, I'll react. Like I'm not really the guy to ask on the equities because I'm trading. I'm really short term. With all the junk abound in alts, why not short them? Shorting is generally, I mean, we're still in the bull market, so what you'll see in these junk charts is like false attempts at breakouts. So you're very likely to lose money in shorting them. To me, even still, as long as Bitcoin is in a bull market, you will more likely make money on the long side. That doesn't mean you should long these alts, right? So the best course of trading, again, short traders in general, those that are addicted to short trading, generally don't make money. If you just think about the math, okay, an altcoin can go to zero, or it can go to the moon, but it can't go past zero, right? So you have a risk to reward in being long, in favored long. That just means that in the universe of longs, which are more probable than shorts, you need to pick better ones, right? You don't want to just say, or if you want to say, okay, I'm going to take 75% of my portfolio in long, strong charts, and then have a little bit of short money on the side as a hedge, that's reasonable. But if you're looking to make a bunch of primary shorts and alts just because I'm saying they're junk, I'm not saying they're good trades short. I'm saying that you are fairly likely to be frustrated with your return, and you probably are going to have some nice drawdowns, but short trading is extraordinarily difficult. Another reason it is difficult is because ABC structures, which is generally what you get on the way down, are extra choppy. So just look at Bitcoin over the 2018 market. There was some great long trades within 2018. There were a couple great short trades. So if you were trading the short side of the market in 2018, you really had only a couple moves down, and you had a whole lot of sideways. And that's generally what you're going to see in a lot of these alt charts. They're just going to go nowhere, get mired. They're going to have some big rallies. Those rallies are going to get everyone geared up on the bull side, and then they're going to take bloodbaths. So very difficult trading on the short side. There are some people that are more skilled at shorting than me. Even same thing with Jason. Like both he and I will short like index futures and all that, but we don't short coins like crazy because they tend to rally really strong in bear moves. So I don't know. That's kind of you just got to build up the experience. Like anyway, so Rari is for Rarible NFT play. Cool, good information. Not a great chart, but we'll see if it can find its footing. I think we didn't get to see Theta. That's because no one put it in the request thread that I can see. At least it's not on my list. So again, I don't cover anything that's not in the request thread. If it's there and I somehow missed writing it down, I apologize. But I have this long list I wrote this morning from those request threads, and I do not see Theta. All right, so it's not on my altcoin weekly list, so I didn't naturally just cover it. Happy to, if you put it in the request thread for us tomorrow night, I will gladly cover it. All right, any last questions? All right, guys, I will hang up. I will get these charts and videos up ASAP. Again, if you have anything that you wanted me to cover that I haven't, put it in the requests. I will cover it tomorrow night when I get back on the board. I'll talk to you guys soon.